All right, y'all. Welcome in. This will be a different stream. This is like the first time I do this. Basically, I just received this past what was it? This on Monday. Basically, I was aware of an issue where I filed other claims that they weren't processed yet, and the claim didn't go through completely. And then I also received a letter through the VA, basically saying that there was an error on their part where some files might not have been accessed or something may not have been viewed correctly. So that's always very important to pay attention to your VA. Make sure you're paying attention to anything they send you. Make sure your address is correct. Make sure everything else is legit so that way you're good to go. I also want to start off by saying that it is not a mandatory thing that you will get 100%. This stream is going to be information and little guides, tutorials, and stuff that you can use, and basically giving you the knowledge to be able to do it. I am not able to show you exactly how to do it. I don't want to put that on myself. I want to put it on myself to be able to educate y'all and give you the information that y'all need that will help you proceed with your VA claims and possibly get a higher rating. Like I said, not everyone is entitled to 100%. 100% is what everyone strives for. But the thing is you actually have to have ailments. You have to have documentation and stuff like that. So that stuff we're going to get into in the stream, basically, just to showcase and tell people and let them know, like, hey, this is not an automatic thing. You don't automatically just get 100%. Some people fight for years to get to 100%. Some people it takes a couple of months. Some people once they get out of the service, that's what they get. They get 100%. So that's something that people need to keep in mind with these tutorials and these videos that I'll be making, that it's not always going to be a simple, hey, I want to do this, I want to get this done, and it happens. It's a road, it's a process to get to 100%, and it's a road and a process just to get any percentage with the VA. It's not something that happens easily. Now, if you are active duty, your best bet is to make sure you're going to sick call. I've spoken about this before and I'm talking about it. That's something that you have to make sure you are doing. You have to make sure you're going to sick call. You have to make sure you're getting stuff notated. If you get any injuries or if you have lingering injuries, that's something that you have to make sure that you continue to notate. You have to have a record of it during service in order to do it, which is a big issue with a lot of service members because they don't have any information. They don't have anything in the background showing, hey, I did this. I messed up my ankle, messed up my back. I have sleep apnea. I have tinnitus. I have different stuff, like certain things the VA does understand because of military service, that you are able to get those issues because they're presumptive conditions. Basically, that's saying that this is criteria and items that if you file, the VA knows, like, hey, you served in the military. There's a high chance that you had this during your service, or they know that something like this is caused for time in service. So that gets put in there. So that's something you have to keep in mind, that if you're active duty, you got to maintain, you got to make sure that you're allowing yourself to get the information you need and have the VA have the information they need. So to start off, the first thing that most people don't have is a VA.Gov login, or they don't know how to use the VA.Gov. It's something that the website alone does have a lot of information in it. There's an abundance of information, but the thing is it is difficult sometimes to find what you're searching for. Like a one simple thing, like when people try to find out the disability rates for this year, like what it is for dependents and stuff like that. I have a video. I'll tag that. I'll put a little card up there so that people can see that, so that they can get to it. And it basically shows the 2023. We're waiting on the 2024 information. Once that information is out and available, I'll make a video. I have a proposed one, which has a little error on the 80% one, which I noticed. And those are just like proposed numbers. We don't find out till basically sometime next month when those numbers will come out. Then I'll update that video and I'll put out a 2024. These are the benefits number. But that's something that's difficult to find on the VA.Gov site. Also, the VA.Gov site doesn't give you a calculator. The calculator is something that you need to find, and it's different websites. There's different organizations that have it. There's a ton on YouTube also that have it. They have way more experience than me. They've been doing this for a longer time, so you can always check their stuff out. One thing I do notice is that a lot of their information is when you're already past that. Once you're already at a certain level and you want to get past to the next level or get to 100%. With this channel, I want to start off at least with the basics first, making sure people at least know how to file. Because I have had people reach out to me and tell me like, hey, I've never filed a disability claim. I have a couple of people that I know haven't filed a disability claim. And I tell them that it's something that you're entitled to. Basically, when you sign up for the service, anybody in the military that signs up, you have the ability to obtain 100%. The military knows that. When they sign you up, everybody's at 100% basically. You just have to get to 100% or show that you need the 100% for the disabilities and the stuff like that. So one important thing also is the information that you have. You have to have certain information in order to get where you need to be. So most importantly is your medical records. Do you have a copy of your medical records? That I think is one of the biggest things that people fail to realize, that you need a copy of your medical records. You need to show that you have had this issue in the past, whether it's a copy of your profiles. I know the system is different now where it just shows you the profile you have now. I'm not sure how it's been updated because I know the IPSA came out and it's a different system. So I'm not sure if they keep a record of it on there. I know that when I first joined, you can show and basically print out every record of every profile you had. Then it changed to the newer system where it just shows you what your active profile has. Not sure how this system works now, but that's something that you need to make sure you have. Your medical records. Before anything you can start in, or the case may be. But also, it's important, like I said, as an active duty member, go to sick call. I'm not sure, for us it was sick call, at least in the Army. I'm not sure what it is in the other branches or what it's called, but make sure you go to your doctor, get seen by your PA, make sure it's notated on there, because that information is kept for your career. So all that information, all the times you've gone, every time it's notated, that is in your file. And that is the information that you need to help you provide details and information when it comes to filing a disability claim. It has the ability to be service connection. Service connection is the biggest thing when it comes to dealing with the VA. If you cannot prove or cannot show that it happened while in service, you can get a rating for it and it'll be denied. So they will deny the fact that, hey, they'll say, hey, you never received this while in service. This is something that happened when you weren't in service. So now you have to show that it was in service. So you can get a doctor's note, and we'll talk about that later on, about a nexus letter, talking to a provider. And that information will show you what it is there. But like I said, most importantly, let's switch to this real quick. This is the VA.gov site for those that don't know the site. VA.gov. You should know the site. If you haven't, this is something that you need to know of. This is something that you have to use in order to go forward. These are the things that you need. This is one of the most important things you'll be using. There also is a mobile app. The mobile app is not as detailed. It doesn't give you the information, but I will show later on also how to get to that, where you can download it and the site for it. But this is the site that you will be using when it comes to filing a claim, checking on your claim, and even finding just general information that you may need. Finding a VA location, which differs because there's clinics, there's the hospitals, there's the actual VA administration buildings. You can use this to find those locations. As you can see, top pages. These are the stuff that most people search for. So they have this criteria on the side as this is the most important stuff you may have. Checking your claims, review payment history, which basically will show everything that you've been paid by the military or by the VA, which will be your benefits compensation. And also, if you're using your GI Bill, it will show like I just received my book stipend and my monthly housing allowance for being in school. I'm enrolled in Kansas State University, trying to obtain a public administration, or will obtain, not trying to, will obtain a public administration master's degree from the school. But that's also to just help try to build this more and have some credentials to try to build and work on policies that will enable and help out veterans. But also you have your health appointments, which is the VA Health, which it's here, has your VA. It'll show you it a different thing. It's a different part of it where you can get healthcare. Remember, if you have any ailments or stuff like that, if it is service connected, you are able to use it and you are able to get assistance from the VA free of charge. That's something you don't have to pay for. Same thing with medications. If you've had medications that you were taking while in service, the VA pays for that. There's no copay for it. It's service connected. It's something that they know because of being in a service happened. So those prescriptions are free. Keep that in mind. Get your VA medical records. Now, this one is tricky because basically get your VA medical records. This doesn't entirely show the issues that you had prior. So you have to make sure that you have your medical records in case. So it says it right here, personal health record, and in some cases your military service record. So it says in some cases, because most of the time when you left the military service, you should have requested your records. Now I have to look into exactly how it is that you go about doing that if you've been out of service for some time, because they should have that information, but that's something that you need in order to go forward, because it's two different situations when you're filing it within the year of being in service and doing your stuff, and then when you've been a year out and you haven't been in service and you have to make those claims and stuff like that. It's two different things because it's a more difficult process after the fact because you have to try to prove and show that it happened during service. Now, if you don't have those records, you have to make sure you obtain those records. That's something I have to get back to you on to make sure I can find. Because I'm not entirely sure the specifics on how to get it. There's different resources on how to, but this is something that you get from the VA. So, like I said, from this, you need to make sure you have a VA thing. So when you sign in, you have all these different ways of signing in. DS logon, that's something that if you basically created a login before you got out of the service, you can use that one. ID Me is also one that you can use that signs you in, and you have a it's a login that you have. All of these are login criteria that you can use. The ID Me does come in handy because ID Me will send you different coupons or different purchasing codes that give you discounts and stuff that you can use to just to use, like off of Reebok. For military members, it's a 50% off on most items that they have. So you can get a 50% discount on Reebok items through ID Me. There's a bunch of other sponsors that help out with that, but this is something you need to do. So log on, go authentication. It'll go through the whole thing. My stuff is already saved in there and is logged in. Do that, skip, continue, and it'll take you to this site once it loads in. So once it loads in, the screen is different from the sign in and the unsigned one. So basically you will just be able to show what you have. It authenticates you, it signs you in. Takes a bit sometimes depending on your internet speed, but there you go. Has records, so it shows 100% service connected. Claims and appeals, healthcare, my next appointment, outstanding debts, benefits and payments. That was what I received since I was at 90% with dependents. Education and training, benefit application. This is one that I had a application that I started that I hadn't put in there. But this is the information that's here that you can use. These are all the different criteria you can use: healthcare, disability, education, careers, pension, housing, life insurance, burials, records, service member benefits, and family members. All things are different once you join. At 10%, that's when you get the first initial payment. 30% is when you can start claiming your dependents on there. If you're below 30%, you cannot claim anything you cannot claim your dependents to receive the extra compensation for them. Thank you for visiting our website. I was like, I guess they figured I was on stream, but no, I'm not going to do this right now. So we'll do that at some other time. But this is something that you need to check. Your VA shows that. You can go to the claims. It says your review status. You can check whatever claims you've put in there, and that's how you use that. So that's something you need to keep in mind when it comes to that. Now, do you have your medical records is the biggest thing. If you don't have your medical records, that's where you come into the issue where you're going to be stuck. If you don't have your medical records, you're going to be stuck, because now you're going to have to go through an outside provider in order to get your medical records or to get a diagnosis. The biggest thing is getting a diagnosis from an outside entity showing that you have an ailment. So with me, I have multiple ailments. I have tinnitus, I have sleep apnea, I have migraines, I have PTSD, I have shoulder issues, I have back issues, I have ankle issues, I have hip issues. I have a bunch of stuff that basically while in service I received, like I got checked up on it and I dealt with it throughout my 10-year career in the military. So within that time frame, that's something that I had to deal with. That's something that I still deal with. So that comes into criteria when it comes to getting the information and being able to show that, hey, you have injuries and stuff like that. So once you have your information and all that, that's the main thing. You're going to want to go through that with a fine comb. You want to make sure you're going through it. You want to make sure that you can find everything that you went through, everything that you may have an ailment with, anytime you got an injury or something like that, because that's something that you need to show. Because there's a bunch of stuff that I had that I didn't realize till after the fact that I had actually gone through it. Like for my tinnitus and my hearing loss, I totally forgot that I had gone I entirely forgot that I had gone and received a letter basically stating that I had hearing loss that dropped me below the OSHA level with my left ear. So basically I have hearing loss with that, but that's something I totally forgot, because it's like, hey, you go about it every day. You still go to the range, you still do all what you got to do. You still have people trying to talk to you, but sometimes it's like you have to ask them to repeat themselves and they think you just not paying attention, but it's just because you have hearing loss and it's something you need to have notated. So with that information being there, that's stuff that you have to show and it's there. But one of the biggest things that people don't use and don't take advantage of is basically this right here. What I'm about to go to next is the CFR 38 CFR Chapter 1, which is within the Department of Affairs. So we're gonna take this back. Just gonna go to the Code of Federal Regulations. So this is one of the most important sites and the important thing that you need to do in order to get the information that you need. Most people do not know about this. This is basically your cheat sheet for the information you need when it comes to being in the service, getting the rating you need or would like to get, and the information you need to meet the criteria for those ratings. Remember that the VA rating system is not a 1 + 1 = 2 system. It is not a 10% plus 10% gives you 20%. It basically starts off with you need to get 100%. Or you're subtracting from 100%. So if you have 50%, let's say for migraines, and you have 50% for, let's say, sleep apnea, you're at 75%. That doesn't equal 100%. So basically what I'm trying to say is it's deducting it from 100%. So if you're at 100%, 50% of 100% is 50. So now you have a remaining 50%. With that remaining 50%, you are with that other 50% you got, so you got two 50% ratings, you are taking 50% of that 50. So now you're at 75, which will put you at 80% disability rate because they round up the 5%. Once you get to the fives, the mid, like 15, 25, 35, 45, 55, etc. Once you get those, you get rated the next level above because you're over on average. So that's something you got to keep in mind, that it's not a 1+1. So that's why it's important to have all that information and all that stuff in there. Code of Federal Regulations. So once you're here, you're going to scroll down and you are going to go to you'll see a bunch of these are all just regulations, and it has stuff, public health, emergency management, all that information. The one you need is pensions, bonuses, and veterans relief. So we click on this one, and then basically this splits it up, and it has retirement homes, compliance with stuff. You go to chapter 1. Chapter 1, once you're in here, it gives you all the information and the different stuff that you can use. Soldiers and Silver Relief, which is basically if you're in the service and you have a credit card or something before that, they will drop your interest rate to, I believe it's either below 6% or 4%, depending on it. And some cards actually give you a 0% interest rate on your credit card when you are active duty in the military. So that's something you want to keep in mind when you're doing that, because it does come to advantages. But this code of regulation will give you all the information you need, and it gives you all the different stuff. There is parts all over the place. 80s and 199 is reserved. Not sure exactly why it says reserved, but it has small business regulations, stuff like that, that you as a veteran can take advantage of and you have. But what you need to look at is schedule for rating disabilities. So once we click on this, we are basically scheduled for rating disabilities. General policy and rating gives you the essentials of evaluating rating. This will give you the information you need basically just to start. So do you have to read everything? No. Should you? Yes. That way you get the information and you know exactly what you're looking at and what you're getting yourself into when you're looking at these things. Because the thing is there's a ton of information here, and this is basically the cheat sheet that you need to work on 100% rating. So general policy, rating, interpretation, stuff like that. This is just broken down like this, but when you click on it, you can come up here, go to table of contents, and it'll show table of contents basically here. So it shows everything: general policy and rating, total disability ratings, the unemployability, because you can be 100% and not be at 100%. So to explain that, you can have the unemployability rating, which basically pays you at the 100% because you're not able to work because of one of the ratings that you currently have. So that is it's different because the same compensation and the same benefits are not attached to it. With this one, you get the compensation of being paid at the 100% level, but with the total and permanent, you get the other benefits, which is like the Chapter 35, which is basically your family members getting a stipend when they're in school. So with this, you have the table of contents, and here is what you need to be looking at: disability ratings. So this will give you a breakdown of all the different disability ratings that you go through and how they are rated, which is the important part, because this is what determines where you get your rating from. So this is what they look at, and this is the criteria that you need to meet in order to get to certain levels. So here, this is the musculoskeletal system. So this here shows all the information when it comes to the bones, joints, functional loss, history of injury, evaluation of muscle disabilities, circulatory disturbances, loss of hand or foot, loss of use of both buttocks. That's stuff that's there that you have to look at, and depending on what you have. Because, like I said, you will have different ailments, you have different things, and that differs. Um, and that's on there. So that's stuff you need to look at, and that's the information that you need in order to do that, and it's there. So you have all this, you have it there. You have the organs of special sense: eyes, muscle function, visual, auditory, anything schedule ratings of your ear. So basically, hearing loss or needing a hearing aid, that kind of stuff. Immuno disorders, nutritional deficiencies, chronic fatigue syndrome, the respiratory system, cardiovascular system, digestive system. Sometimes you get ulcers. Like, hey, if you've been taking medication, most service members been taking Motrin for who knows how long, consecutively, and continue to do that. That's something that, hey, it might cause ulcers. You might have GERD. Those are different items that are there, and it is explained in here. Now, keep in mind, every single thing that you have is not in this regulation. So there are certain things that the VA will consider and will give it a yes, it is service connected, but you will not get a percentage for because there is nothing that it falls under. Or it will be tied into another one of your claims and they'll add that, but they'll give it the same percentage, but they'll put it under that, basically saying this is the same issue, but there's nothing that's differentiating from it. But then that's also where I say you have to talk to a VSO or Veterans Claims Agent or a representative that is accredited doing this, because they can look at your file and they can look at your ratings and all that stuff, and they can give you better advice if it's something that gets denied or you need to appeal. Like I said, the skin. For shaving profile, I didn't get a shaving profile while I was in service, but what I did do was I did get the laser therapy, basically laser therapy, which I would get laser shot into my face basically, and it would thin out my hair, and my hair would fall out. So it kind of like cauterized some of my hair follicles. So basically, my hair wouldn't grow back again, or it made it so that my hair started growing thinner so that I wouldn't break out as much and have all the bumps and all that stuff on there. I've been out. As you can see, I've grown my beard now because I'm able to. I don't have to shave all the time. But even then, when I do shave to just try to line it up, I still get outbreaks, which is a very annoying thing to keep on doing that. And it's even worse because I know certain service members get it worse, but that's something you can get a rating for. I have a rating basically because it did leave scars on my chin because it burned and it made like little holes on my chin, which you can't see because of the beard, but that's something that was done because of the therapy, and I received a rating for that. So that's something that's on there, but it explains how you get a rating, because for skin it's noticeable scars. So if you have certain scars, they have to be a certain amount of distance or of length or of circumference to receive a rating for. So that changes that. Neurological conditions, mental disorders, dental and order. So this is the one thing, the mental disorders one is one of the ones that gets looked at the most. So if we go to diagnosis of mental disorders, the diagnosis of mental disorder does not conform to or is not supported by the findings on the examination report. The rating agency shall return the report to the examiner to substantiate the diagnosis. So this is where having a medical provider is important. So like I said, once you have your medical files, you have that, you can take it to a VSO. They can show you. A VSO or a claims agent will try to tell you that you need to have an outside doctor, outside provider, whether it's a physician, a therapist. It has to be a medical professional, because they're gonna have to write what is called a nexus letter. A nexus letter is basically a letter from that medical professional explaining and stating the diagnosis that they have diagnosed you with and how it is connected to your military service. So let's say you have bulging discs, an issue I dealt with. I have degenerative disc disease where I've lost uh, cartilage within my joints. That is something that is shown in service. Now, if you don't have any MRIs or X-rays that show that while you were in service, you're going to have to get those on the outside. You're going to have a medical provider substantiate your claim by basically stating, as a medical professional, I believe, yes, this person has these ailments because of his time during service. Here are the MRI results. Here are the X ray results. Here is the information to show where I made this diagnosis. And this is where I believe why it is connected to his time in the service. So that is one of the most important things, is a nexus letter. A lot of people, when they file claims for anything medical or any issues like that, what happens is that they don't have a nexus letter. And without a nexus letter, you do not have the information you need to provide or showcase that. The VA is not going to go off of your word. To plain and simple, the VA is not going to go, the examiner or the rating evaluator is not going to go off of, you said, yeah, my back hurts. Everyone's back hurts. Why does your back hurt? Does your back hurt because of the military? Or does your back hurt because you fell when you went snowboarding? Or you tripped and fell and had a bad fall? Was that during the military service? Was it because of the military? That's where the VA wants to know. Is it connected to military service? With a nexus letter and a medical professional giving you that information and putting that in a letter, which they will sign, and they're basically putting their information there, all the information they have to basically highlight that and show that that's what you need to do. That's one of the most important things when it comes to filing a claim without having any substantiating evidence of within service. So you want to show that it was in service connection, because sometimes it's the criteria of, hey, you've been injured for long enough and you never went to sick call, which is a big problem I know with a lot of military members, is like they were prideful, or their job made it seem like you were weak. You shouldn't have done this. Oh, you can't be in the army. You're too weak to do this. You want to go to sick call. Sick call is for like people that are weak. Whatever the case may be, whatever it was, you not listening to yourself and not listening to your body is causing you issues in the background because you want to listen to somebody else. That other person that told you that and you listen to right now is nowhere to be found trying to take care of you. So the whole thing with VA claims and filing, you have to take care of yourself. You are your biggest advocate. You are your biggest support when it comes to filing a VA claim. So you have to do your due diligence and you have to find your information to do that. So basically, like I said, continuing with this schedule of ratings, mental disorders, it'll show all the different stuff that you can have. These are the different codes that they put for mental disorder. So basically, when you have your rating, they will show you the different criteria when it comes to mental disorders. So schizophrenia, delusional, delirium, major mild neurocognitive disorder due to Alzheimer's. So if you do get Alzheimer's, TBI, which is a traumatic brain injury. A lot of service members deal with that when it comes to IED explosion, being around a blast, or having something hit them in the head, or having an injury of any sort that causes traumatic brain injury. That is something that you can also claim. Some people don't do that. Some people just go and they just deal with it as, oh, I injured myself or I hit myself, and they don't pay attention to it. And that's the problem, because you never filed it, or you went, got seen, it's in your record, but then you didn't follow up on it. And now you're dealing with issues above that. OCD, obsessive compulsive disorder. You got PTSD, panic disorders, dissociative amnesia, bipolar disorder, major depressive disorder. These are different, chronic adjustment disorder. These are different things that are claimed through mental disorders. So keep in mind also that if you fall under all these categories, which I would hope nobody does, but if you have multiple of these categories that you fall under, the VA does not give you a separate rating for all these items. These items are combined. So if you have schizophrenia and you have major depressive disorder, or you have persistent depressive disorder. All those ratings will be combined together and they will show what it is at that rating. So basically that's putting it all together, and that information is just basically showing like, hey, this is what they have, this is what we've come together, this is what we have been diagnosed with. Now, like I said, you can go to an outside therapist and do that, but if you have something within the VA, and it's like if you claim anxiety or you claim depression and you get seen, which you can be seen for through the VA, and the VA then diagnoses you with PTSD or any other items on top of that, that is information that you put in there, and then you can file for an increase, which was basically with one thing I did because I had depression and anxiety. After going to a therapist, continuing to see a therapist, which I still continue to see through the VA, the therapist diagnosed me with PTSD and with heightened anxiety. So basically that was put in there, and then that diagnosis allowed for me to it raised my rating percentage higher from what I had to what it is now. So this is where every information is what you need to see. This is basically where it goes to. You have ratings for formula for eating disorders, then it goes into the dental. So we're gonna stick to mental health or mental disorders. This right here is a breakdown of the percentages that you will receive through that. So this is the information that you get through this. This is how you get a rating. So like I said, when you look at Title 38, Chapter 1, Part 4, whichever one you're looking for, whichever ailment you have, whatever issues you have, it will have a rating formula. As you can see, it goes from 0, 10, 30, 50, 70, and 100. Like I said, each service member is different. Not everybody has the same ailments. Not everyone has the same issues. So it's on what you fall under that you will get the rating for. It is not you will get 100% because you just got hit with PTSD. You have PTSD, it's not an automatic you will get 100%. You have to know what it is that is going on, and you have to fill and fall into these criterias in order to get that rating. Integrity is the biggest thing. I'm not a big fan of people lying about gaining ratings and stuff like that, because basically there are people that need it. Like, yes, some people use that to their advantage and say things they shouldn't say. But if you have those issues, make sure you're saying what you're going through, notate it, write it down, even have a journal of stuff. For migraines, excuse me, I had a journal basically stating when I got them, how many times I got them, how long they knocked me out for, or how many days in the month I had issues where I couldn't function. I had migraines. I had to lay down, dark lights, stuff like that. Sometimes even before I do a stream, I make sure to take a medication just in case something wants to pop up on the long end because I am looking at a screen. But then you notice everything else is dark, is just the light coming off of here. So like I said, with this, mental condition has been formally diagnosed, but symptoms are not severe enough either to interfere with occupational and social functioning or to require continuous medication. If you're on medication, most of the time your rating is assisted. If you are already taking medication for any of these ailments, so whether it's migraine medication, blood pressure medication, even what's that? Well, just in general, any kind of medication that you're taking that is a result or to try to nullify or try to diminish the pain you're in, that is something that's in the service. That is something that is notated, and that's something there, and that's something you can use to your advantage, and that is something that helps show a service connection to what you're dealing with. So that's something you want to keep in mind. And as you go, you can see that these paragraphs are getting a bit larger. and it starts saying what it is you have issues with. So let's say for 50% rating, occupational and social impairment with reduced reliability and productivity due to such symptoms as flattened effect, circumstantial, circumlocutory, or stereotyped speech, panic attacks more than once a week, difficulty in understanding complex commands, impairment of short and long term memory, retention of only highly learned material, forgetting to complete tasks, impaired judgment, impaired abstract thinking, disturbances of motivation and mood, difficulty in establishing and maintaining effective work and social relationships. So this is something at the 50% level that basically this is what you're going through. The rating goes up for mental disorders, it's more stuff and it's more severe. So it's depending on how you function that changes that. So that's one thing you have to keep in mind, that depending on your functionality, your social issues, that's something that you want to do when you're explaining that. So when you're filing that claim, you're filing it and you're putting all the ailments on there. So you've done that. You've put everything on there. It says the mental disorders, and it has everything that you need. And this whole thing, as you can see as I'm scrolling through this is all information on different ratings. So this is diseases of the heart. And you will go through it and you can just keep on clicking on it and you'll keep on checking and you will keep on seeing all the different things that you have to meet to receive that criteria. Results in heart failure symptoms or continuous medication required for control. Stuff like that. That's all information that's there. And this is all here. Chapter 1, Part 4. Again, you can go back to the table of contents and it'll give you disability ratings. And like I said, it'll go through every single issue you may have. Most of the time, it's joint issues that people have. People do have mental disorders because you do deal with depression, you do deal with anxiety, being in the military. That creeps up on you no matter what. When it's always, hey, you got to be on time, you got to be at the right place, stuff like that. That is very, it's an issue that you deal with. It's something that gives you anxiety because it's like, I got to be here, I got to be there. And even when you're out of the service, it's like I'm rushing my family sometimes to, hey, we gotta go, we gotta go. And it was just like, there's no issue if I'm late, kind of thing. It's just like it happens because it's like it's so ingrained into you, and that's something that does cause anxiety. That's something that you have to mention. Those are things you have to mention when it comes to your CMP exam, which is the next part of it is the CMP exam. So when we go and we talk about the CMP exam, that is basically compensation and pension examination. That is where you are being examined for the issues you have. So now, like I just showed with the CFR, Code of Federal Regulations, Title 38, Chapter 1, Part 4, it gives you the information you need to know when they ask you these questions. When it prepares you for the information that you need in order to get those ratings. We can even go back and just let me see. I'll just find something just basically to show. So what I'm going to show now is basically the information as when it comes to joint motion, which people have the most issue with. Basically, shoulder abduction, shoulder forward elevation, external rotation, elbow flexion, stuff like that. This is with the legs. When you're sitting, your ankle, hip flexion, how you can move your hips, how far you can move it. This is how it gets rated. This is showing you basically what it goes through. Two major exceptions. So that's why I say this is like the cheat sheet for people in order to obtain their rating. Because basically it shows you what the information is. Like how you can move your arm. I can do stuff with my right arm. Can't do the same stuff with my left. And that was shown when I did the CMP exam. The CMP exam, you will have an examiner ask you questions. They will check you. They will make sure to see how far your arm can move, how far your elbow can move, how far your wrist can move, shoulder, knees, legs, hip movement, stuff like that. And it's there. And then it says acute, subacute, or chronic disease for musculoskeletal system without evidence of active infection. And this is when it comes to infection also with chronic diseases. But this is just the information just on, and it differs also when it comes to your dominant hand or your non-dominant hand. You will get a higher rating at times when it is your dominant hand, because the thing is, it's your dominant hand and that's what you're used to. So me, I'm right-handed. The claim I have for my shoulder is a non-dominant, so it isn't as high as it would be if it would have been my right arm that I had the issues with. So that's something that you have to keep in mind also, that the ratings differ depending on non-dominant and dominant. But that also depends on what it is you're claiming. So if it's like right hand, fingers, wrist, elbow on your right hand, and you're right-handed, the percentage may be a bit higher because of that. But it's also depending on, like I said, movement percentage. Because basically it's the same thing also like with your back. Depending on how much you can move, how much you can bend over, that causes your rating to go up or not. If you cannot bend at all, your rating will most likely be higher. If you have ailments or you have imagery that shows that your back is injured more, that's something you need to keep in mind also. So that's all information there that you have in order to allow yourself to know, hey, this is what you need. This is the information you can use. This part 4 gives you all the issues that you need and all the information you need to know what it is you have to claim and what it is that will get you a certain percentage. Also, there's your decision letter. So I have my decision letter, and it will explain to you why it was service connected, why it wasn't service connected. If it's at a 0 rating and it's service connected, that is what you want, because at least you know you can take care of it. CMP exam is a big issue with that, because the thing is sometimes they're outside contracted, so they don't work for the VA. You're just going to a random doctor. These random doctors don't care. They're just there to do, they're getting paid to check for the things that you are claiming, and it shows. That's the main thing. That's what they're showing. That's what they want to highlight. That's what they want to showcase. So with that information there, you show that, and they will ask you those questions. So hey, how does this affect you? Like, oh, I can't lift up this can. I can't pick up my kids. I can't run around. I can't do stuff like that. That's stuff that they will ask you when it comes to certain things. Now, each thing will be evaluated. If you're active duty, try to do the benefits before discharge program. Try to do it while you're in service so that you can get your medical records, you do your stuff, and you have your rating basically within a week or two of getting out of the army. So when your ETS hits within a week or two, you will have what your rating percentage is, and you can do it like that, and it's a lot easier and the transition is smoother. Now, if you're already out of the service, you can still file. You can always file at any time. It doesn't matter how old you are, how long you've been out of the military. It's just you need to make sure you have your records, and you need to make sure that you have a nexus letter or a doctor or a medical professional providing you the information that you need in order to do that. It's not like I said, it's not a very clear-cut way of doing it. It's just something that this is something that you have to do. This is something that will benefit you, and this is something that you need in order to make sure you get that criteria and you get that information. If you don't do that, it's going to be impossible to get a higher rating, because you can claim everything. You can have all the ailments you have, but if you have no documentation or way of showing that this is what you're going through, you will not obtain a rating, or you will not get the service connection. What you need is service connection, because at least with service connection, over time, it can be an ailment that gets worse. You can file for an increase showing through a medical provider that your issue has gotten worse. Back issues don't get any better, especially when it comes to cartilage and stuff like that. It's going to get worse. But if you have it notated and it's service connected, hey, at this point, you might have it at 0. It's going to increase as you go. But those are the things you need to do. This is a very influential part of what you need. A medical provider providing you a nexus letter is the other essential thing that you need. Talking to a VSO or a veteran claims agent or a military claims lawyer is also informational. A lot of the information is already here provided for you in this regulation. Now, do you want to go spend thousands of dollars or hundreds of dollars or something like that? Or hey, you can join my channel, be a member of the channel. I'm working on a Discord that basically will have all this information. We'll have the code of regulations. We'll have it split up so that when you're searching for stuff, you can look for it, or you can ask other questions through people that are members and veterans. That way they get the information and you get the information you need and you can answer questions. So that's something that's available, that will be available in due time once I'm completed creating the Discord channel or server, I mean. But those are the things that you need. Those are the must-haves. These are the tips. This is one of the freebies that you get for information that is required in order to get your disability rating. I have a lot of people that reached out that wanted to talk, chat, see what was going on with the rating. How did I get to 100? Some people were surprised I got there. And it's just like the military and the VA does not explain this to you because they want you to do it on your own. You're supposed to do it on your own because it's your entitlements. It's your benefits. It's the information you need to provide. It's the ailments you have. The VA is not going to put ailments that you did not claim. You have whatever you had, you dealt with whatever you dealt with. The VA is not going to make extra claims for you unless the CMP provider notices something and sees that it's something that could be causing it. That is something that's going to be added to it. So in my case, with my ankle injury, the CMP provider added that I had shin splints. I know that's what I was dealing with. Still deal with stuff, and I'm still going to get seen, and I'm still going to go to a medical provider. Even though I'm at 100% total and permanent, I would rather have the stuff claimed on there so that way I know I can be seen for it with no issue. Now, keep in mind, some issues like the PACT Act, there's issues like cancer, stuff like that you are there for. That's something you should file for. A lot of people will try to say you shouldn't file your disability claim to not lose your 100%. Because once you're at 100% and you file another claim, the VA can reopen your whole entire case and look to see if something's gotten better. If something's gotten better, they can reduce it back to 90 and you're not at 100% anymore. So that's something to keep in mind. Some people just get 100% and leave it at that. Some people want to make sure they get taken care of, because at least for me, if I have any PACT Act issues that fall under that, I will file a claim for them, because at the end of the day, if I pass away because of one of those issues, my family gets taken care of because of that. So they get covered for that because it was an injury or I died due to the fact that it was because of the military. I got lung cancer for serving or being around burn pits or whatever the case may be. That's something you want to do. Same thing with a lot of veterans, a lot of Vietnam veterans and all that. I see them all the time in the VA when I'm over there. Some of these people, hey, y'all family members, take care of them. Look into it. Make sure they have what they need. Make sure that they have that rating and stuff like that, because that can help benefit your parents or whoever they're looking after, whoever their dependents are. So that's something you got to make sure you keep in mind when it comes to making a file. Like I said, not everyone is going to get 100% rating. Everyone is entitled to 100%, but not everyone is going to get 100%. You have to have the ailments. You have to show why you're injured. There's secondary issues, which is a whole different topic, because this is a topic that you have to have multiple chats with, multiple talks about to get all the information you need. But as long as you keep on looking into it yourself, doing your research, there's Like I said, there's tons of YouTube channels. There's a ton of organizations that help. Some are free, some are charging, but you have to ask them those questions and do your due diligence in order to make sure that you can be prepared for this. Because it's not a 1 day, 2 day process. This could take months. This could take years. Appeals can take even longer. They give you a time frame of maybe it could take a year. Sometimes it takes longer, but you have to stay on it. If you have a VSO or a accredited representative, it's probably easier because you have now somebody that can contact the VA and they can look into it more. Remember, sometimes you're calling the VA and you're on hold for hours. You probably just give up. Don't give up. You're entitled to 100%. Are you going to receive it? Maybe, maybe not. Could be next month, could be 2, 3 years from now from you fighting. There's different stories and there's different segments of where you see that happening where you have a lot of people that go through that. But this is what you need to look at. Table of contents, chapter 1, part 4, and going through your medical records. Go through your medical records, see what you have, see what the issues have. Go to this site, which I'll put the link below in the description after we're done. And go to this website, see what you need, see the information you need, and the Code of Federal Regulations will show up. It'll give you the information you need, tell you what you have. You look at your medical records, you look at the diagnosis that your medical provider gave you, you go check what it is that it falls under and see what it is that you need and see what it is that you can get. Don't get into the thought process of, oh, I'm going to shoot for 100%. You want to shoot for 100%. But at the same time, you want to make sure that you're doing your due diligence so you get 8%. Just going about it very lazy and not doing your homework you end up with a lower rating. I did my homework. I did my stuff. I checked to see what I needed. I saw the issues I had. I documented everything I had. I went to sick call when I was in the service and I have the diagnosis for all that stuff. So it made my claim to 100% easier. I'm not saying it's something like I want. Trust me. The compensation is great. But yes, would I rather not be hurt? Would I rather not deal with the stuff I deal with? Of course. Because it's difficult when you want to play sports. Can't play sports anymore. Difficult when you want to run around with the kids. Can't do that no more. It's difficult when you can't do activities that you thought you didn't want to do, but now you can't do them. So there's a difference with that. And then there's also people that have done with losing limbs, stuff like that. That's something that's in there. That's the special monthly compensation rates. That's an additional rate added on top of your disability rate, but that's certain criteria also. With the VA, everything has criteria that you have to meet in order to get the representation and the information that you need. So that's something you got to keep in mind, that the information you have, the information you provide, the documentation, imagery, diagnosis, nexus letter, that's the stuff you need in order to move forward with your claims. You can always file a claim for anything you have a claim for. File it. Once you file, you have the intent to file. It's 1 year. Like I showed earlier, through the VA, you have that information there, and it's an intent to file. Once you intend to file, that lasts you 1 year. Once you're at that 1 year, basically you can go ahead and use that information. That information allows you to go ahead and do that. You have 1 year option. So if you file, let's say you decided to file today at September 2nd, 2023. That intent to file will last you till 2024 of September 2nd. So basically you have that time within that year to basically finish that. So the process of that being taken care of and how it shows you. So basically, like for mine, I have a benefit application here. Application for disability compensation. This one expires December 20, 2023. Because I filed this one December 20, 2022. Because I had filed one previously, and that one I'm still finishing off with the claim, but this is there for that. Continue application. Ask the questions, you answer them. File for disability compensation. Are you answer a few questions, get started? Active duty right now, you would say no. If you have the forms and stuff like that, that's information that's there. That's plain and simple, and it's easy to see, and it's a visual that you can get that you don't have issues for. Remember, filing for disability compensation is simple. It's easy to do. I have a video for it. I'll tag that also. Basically easy to file it. Now, to get your rating and stuff, whole different story. Like I said, make sure to check your Code of Federal Regulations. Read that. Make sure you have the information. Get your ducks in a row to do that. If you already have a percentage, you have a percentage already. So you're there already. If it got denied, excuse me, find a way to show that it did happen in service. Just because it gets denied doesn't mean that you cannot claim it. You can fight those, you can appeal those, you can go to a lawyer, you can go to a representative, and they will help you and show you what it is. Because sometimes there are errors made in your decision letter. There are errors made by the CMP. The VA raters, some of them are not even medical professionals. They just go off of what this medical professional states, and that's how they determine where you fall under for criteria. So that's why when I say I can assist you with giving you this information, but when it comes to the in-depth stuff, you want to have an expert by your side to do that. So that way you have the correct information and they can look into it deeper and see, because they've seen all these things. They know the verbiage. They know what providers are supposed to say, what they can't say. And that's stuff that they can see. You look at it, you read at the paperwork, and you'll be like, oh, that's just what it says. That's what I thought it was supposed to say. And then you realize it's not supposed to say that because the VA guy or the claims agent or the representative told you that. So that's something you want to look into just in case once you have something, if you get all things denied or you get certain things denied, have someone else look at it that's an expert in the field of it and make sure that gets taken care of so you can see it that way. Now, for the final part of the stream, I just want to highlight that there is an app store when it comes to the VA. So the VA has an app store. Some of these apps don't work. Some of them you can't use. Some of them you have to do it. But I also got asked the question is like, hey, what app did you check when you found out you were 100%? It's the VA Health and Benefits app. So you can just grab your phone, go to Google, go to whichever one you want to. You can go through Android or you can go through Apple, whichever one. You have that information there, and it basically shows you the different stuff. So it'll bring you in. I don't have like the screen sharing with my phone, but it'll show you what you are, what you served in. Basically has you can contact the VA to find a location or COVID-19 updates. Has another tab on the bottom. It has 4 different tabs. It's the benefits, health, and payments. You go to benefits, it'll tell you the disability rating, and it'll give you all the information as what you got, what you received a percentage for, and you go from there. Claims, it'll tell you what's active and what's closed. VA letters and documents, it'll give you it'll ask for the address, and you can download the letters now, which was something that you had to go online or wait for the letter to get to you. But now you can go on the app and you can actually download the letters, which will tell you what your rating is, why they gave you that rating is. And it'll also explain on the decision letter, like, hey, you received this percentage because of this. In order for you to get the next level or a higher rating, this is what needs to happen, or this is what falls under that criteria, and you just didn't meet that criteria, so that's why you got the one you did. Also in the app you have the VA Health. Like once you're already in there, you'll sign up and it's like My Health for the VA. Let's see if we can show you that real quick. Healthcare, view all in healthcare. Once you log in, it'll have the My Health Vet. And this, I don't think it shows any. Before I show any personal information on here. No, it doesn't show any personal information. So this is what it looks like. This is the VA Health. Once you do it, you can file in for premium. Let's zoom in a bit on this. Um, and this is just the health side. So here you have your pharmacy where you can refill your prescriptions. You can find where it is. You can have your list of medications. Shows all the appointments that you have scheduled with the VA, or if you want to schedule an appointment, you go through here. Messages. This is the messages because you fall under a team of a provider through a VA clinic or the VA administration building or wherever you get seen. This is the inbox where you can send a message and you can get that information directly to you. Same thing with lab tests, blue button medical records, electronic sharing options so that they can electronic do that stuff. Benefits, health, veterans health, any health texting, community, whole health, mental health. That's there. And also, it'll give you on the last tab on the app, it has a VA payment history. So it's basically a consolidated form of the VA website. And that's what you can use. If you're on a desktop or an iMac or laptop, tablet, you should be able to access the site like this. And this is what you would see when it comes to that. Gives you the PACT Act benefits information. It has personal information for you see it all here. This is stuff that you can use. There's also the app that you can use. So that's something you got to keep in mind. You can access all this stuff from your phone and get updates, or you can be at home or wherever you are and log in and do that. So that's with the apps. There's different apps. Some of them work, some of them you can download, some of them you can't. This is the one, the VA Health and Benefits. This is the one you need in order to get the information you need. And then you have different ones. Mindfulness Coach, which is basically for mental health. It assists you with PTSD Coach. Like I said, they have a bunch of these here. Not all of them work. Not all of them are able to be downloaded because some of them are not being updated. But you can look stuff up. Couples Coach, stuff like that. Insomnia Coach, CBTI Coach. Um, that's all stuff that's there. And if not, you can always reach out to your VA. There's the Veterans Crisis line, which dial 988, press 1, and you can talk to somebody. So always keep in mind that there's different resources that the VA has. You have to figure out what those resources are. They're there. You have to look into it. The VA has many resources. Your state has certain resources and benefits just because of your state. So each state has different things. There's the federal level stuff when it comes to just the VA taking care of you, you getting your percentage, your compensation, and then your state has extra stuff. Here in Kansas, you get free hunting license. You can get a personalized license plate for retirees. They don't get their retirement pay taxed. Each state has it differently. Each state has its benefits. Some are educational ones, some are tax purposes, some even for like property tax. You don't pay property tax, or the property tax gets refunded to you depending on the state. Each state is different. You would have to look into the veterans page for your state, and that'll showcase it and give you the information you need there. Like I said, with the Discord server that I am creating, that information will be there. It'll be a one-time fee. I'm trying to figure out how much the fee will be. It'll probably be like $5 or 10 maybe to obtain access to the server, and that's just joining as a member, which you'll get other perks also. Excuse me. With those perks, it'll give you the ability to be in that server. And then once you have access to that server, you'll always have access to that server. So as long as that server is up and running, which will continue going forward and it'll only grow, you'll have access to that server. Now, the only way you lose out, say something stupid, get ridicule somebody, or not be a team player, that's what we're trying to be here as team players, help veterans out, help people get what they deserve and know and benefit from their entitlements. So that's what we want to make sure we're doing. So we'll conclude this tips and tricks. I know I didn't get into too many specific things because like I said, every veteran has different issues. Every veteran has different claims. Every veteran has different questions in regards to different things. Some are educational, some are job, some are family benefits, some are just disability benefits or just rating questions. I am not a expert. I am not a professional. I am not accredited yet. I will be working on becoming a veterans claim uh, agent. It's a lengthy process, but that's something that also, with your support, we can move forward and get that there. I'm getting my master's degree in public administration to help work and try to build that repertoire and that certification and that credentialing to be able to create policies and help assist veterans as we continue, because veterans are not going anywhere. We have wars. We have the wars now that just happened with Iraq and Afghanistan. We still have Vietnam. We still have Korean. We still have the Gulf, Desert Storm. We have all those veterans that are still around, that are still needing help and need assistance and don't know what's going on. So that's what we're going to continue to try to do. We will try to help out as best we can, try to give out information as best we can, and that's what we'll do. So I appreciate those tuning in. I hope you gained some information and some knowledge as to how to file, how to get the tips, what you need to do, what you need to look into, and how to benefit yourself as a veteran to get those ratings. And we will conclude with that. Thank you for coming in, and we will catch you on the next stream, which will probably be another chat, another informational chat. If we go in a certain direction, please make sure to like the video, leave a comment of what you would like to maybe specify about or what you would like to talk about more, and also make sure to subscribe to the channel. I appreciate y'all, and we will catch you on the next one. Just Cruise signing out.